Hello everybody and welcome to a very special Rainbow Cup video. So for this Rainbow Cup tournament, it was held on the 30th, so it was the last one of the month. We had 16 total participants, 4 challengers, and a whole lot of rivals. So this video is special to me for a couple of reasons. The first being that I won the Rainbow Cup outright, and the second being that I'm going to try and give my best advice on team comps for the tournament. So obviously I'm no expert. As you can see, I'll probably make a lot of mistakes, so if I do, comment them down below. Getting into it, round 1, my first opponent is super rich. So we see Kingdra and otherwise a very meta team. When we make our picks, I'm going to look at something that a lot of the other YouTubers, I haven't really heard them talk about yet, which is overlapping coverage. It just means that I have one thing that can counter more than one of theirs. So essentially, I tried to color code this here to give a good illustration of my thought process. So as you can see, my team is on the bottom, his team is on top. If we're tracing those lines there, we have Mantine, Fortress, Raichu, and Kingdra that have multiple coverages, Kingdra being the most, as it has 3 different coverages with my team comp that I decided to select, which is Quagsire, Meganium, and Mantine. The things that have the least coverage are Quagsire and Venusaur with only 1 counter each, which means that in a Nightmare scenario, he would run those 2 against me. If he runs the other 4, then I'm in pretty good shape. So going into the first match, let's see how we do. So we opened Mantine and we predicted the Kingdra lead, and we were right. So Kingdra's dragon typing, although it is part water, is going to take some effective damage from this Ice Beam, which he decides not to block. Anything from Kingdra is going to be devastating. You have to block that, especially the Outrage. So we're able to wing attack this Kingdra down, and we have some charge moves ready to go. Next comes out Fortress. So far, based on my predictions from before, we're doing pretty well. I'm able to get off another Aerial Ace with 1 hit point on my Mantine. And I have another counter for Fortress, which is Quagsire. I'm not going to shield this Heavy Slam, and he switches out into Quagsire. So things are going really well. I had 1 counter for Quagsire being Meganium, and he brought Quagsire. So we really lucked out. I'm going to farm up this Quag as much as I can because he's now out of shields, and I know Meganium can take this Stone Edge. Now we have a Fortress to face, and we have an Earthquake ready to go, plus a Quagsire in the back. We're going to try to finish it with a Frenzy Plant here. And we get really close, and the Vine Whips finish it off. Going into round 2, I decided to go Meganium, Mantine, and Quagsire. So the same team, I just swapped the flow a little bit. So Venusaur comes out, and this is not good for me at all. That Sludge Bomb is really going to hurt Meganium, so I decided to go into Mantine. All in all, I really think Mantine was my VIP, or MVP, excuse me, for this cup. He's just was a great switch in, and I was able to use him to win a lot of matches. We're able to Air Slash down that Venusaur, and out comes Raichu. Now, the grass typing is going to resist that electric, so out comes Meganium. I'm going to tank whatever comes next, and it is a Thunder Punch. I think he was going for the shield bait there. I'm going to fire off a Frenzy Plant, and that will 1-hit KO the Raichu, and then out comes Quagsire. So I know I need to invest in this Meganium because it's my best chance to wrap up this game. He's got 0 shields left, and I have to shield this final move because we know we can get to a Frenzy Plant before he can get to a Earthquake or something more devastating like that. Going into round 2, my opponent is Church. He's one of my good friends in Tampa, fierce trainer, and a challenger as well. I decide to go with Quagsire, Meganium, and Mantine. So this is probably one of my better team comps as it covers everything on his team. As you can see, Fortress, Lantern, Charizard, and Mantine have overlapping coverage. So the match started, and I was actually a little panicked, so I flipped on the screen recorder while he was doing his charge move. But these are our first opening lead Pokemon here. We have Quagsire and Mantine. I'm going to fire off a Stone Edge here and try to catch him, which we do. He's going to go for another charge attack, but Quagsire has done good work. I'm going to let it fall. Now I'm going with Meganium to farm up this Mantine, and we're able to get him down before he gets to another charge move. Out comes Charizard. I have to bail, and I go directly into Mantine, and luckily I have an Aerial Ace loaded. I didn't want to go for the Ice Beam because I was trying to draw a shield. He fires off a Dragon Claw, which is going to hurt a little bit, but then he brings out Venusaur. Now that Frenzy Plant would have KO'd Mantine. It was definitely within range. So I shield that and I go for an Aerial Ace, which he shields. I'm all out of shields now and starting to look like I'm in trouble. So I fire off a Frenzy Plant here because I think I'm within range, and we're not quite there, but we get it with the Vine Whips. Out comes Charizard. At this point I said, you know, GG's man, you did really well, you beat me. And somehow I'm able to get to that last Frenzy Plant, and Meganium tops Charizard. Going into round 2, I open Meganium, Lantern, and Mantine. This is another good coverage. As you can see, we have 4 things that are double covered. Quagsire and Venusaur, again, being our single coverage opponents. So with this round, I open Meganium, and I get really lucky. He opens Quagsire. He's going to swap into Venusaur, and I go into Mantine. Mantine at full health or close to full health can definitely tank a Frenzy Plant, but I decide to shield there, and I fire off an Aerial Ace. I'm going to forego shields here again, save them for later because I know I can get to one more Aerial Ace, so either I'll take down his Venusaur or I'll draw his second shield. Venusaur falls, and he is going to switch into Charizard. Now this is the reason I brought Lantern, because this Charge Beam is going to get that Thunderbolt charge really quick, and I'm able to hit him if he stays in, and he bails out the last second, but luckily I have a Meganium. He has stored energy though, so I decide to shield, and I go for a Frenzy Plant to take down this Quagsire. In hindsight, I probably could have farmed it a little bit more, but that's okay. I fire off a Frenzy Plant against this Charizard. He decides not to shield because he's saving his shields for the Lantern. Fire off another Frenzy Plant though, forcing him to burn his last shield. He's got a little bit of health left, and he's able to get off a Blast Burn, but I already have the Thunderbolt charged, and we're able to win this game. GG's Church, as always. Going into round 3, my opponent is Dan Ben. Dan Ben was a challenger, and this is my first time facing him. Very, very outstanding player. I decided to go Quagsire, Ninetales, and Mantine. As you can see here, my coverage wasn't that great for this team comp. I don't have anything to cover Quagsire, but things are going to hopefully turn out well here for us in the end. Let's see how we do. So I decided to open Quagsire. He opens Lantern. So this is a really good matchup for us. We know that it is a Water Gun Lantern, so it's not as great of a matchup as it could be with Charge Beam, but it's still going to work out for us. He shields my first charge move and then bails and switches into Quagsire. I make a bit of a mistake here and I go into Mantine, but luckily he hits us with Acid Spray. I'm going to try to get these Ice Beams off because I know that will do the most damage to Quagsire as well. I'm going to shield this Stone Edge, which I think is a Stone Edge, but it's an Acid Spray. Still in review here, the Quagsire is so tricky. This was one of the more challenging things to watch out for in the entirety of the Rainbow Cup. But after a couple of Acid Sprays, that one Stone Edge finishes us off. I bring out the Ninetales to farm up his Quagsire. Out comes Lantern. I'm going to shield whatever this is, which is Hydro Pump, which is a good call by me. I switch immediately into Quagsire and we Earthquake down that Lantern. Out comes Zard. He gets off a charge move, which is Dragon Claw, and I barely survive, just enough to use a Stone Edge and take down Charizard. Going into round 2, I'm going to run Meganium, Ninetales, and Mantine. And Ninetales is going to have a moment to shine here. Just wait and see. I lead Mantine, he leads Mantine as well. So we're going with the mirror match here. The best move to land, if you can, is the Ice Beam. But as we know, the Aerial Ace is more energy efficient. He gets off the Ice Beam first. I go for the Ice Beam in return. He does not block, just like I didn't. And here I'm going to use a shield. He fires off an Aerial Ace to try to conserve energy. I'm going to try to wing attack him down within range and then fire off an Aerial Ace of my own, but he shields, and luckily I have another Aerial Ace ready. Out comes Quagsire. I'm going to let Mantine do its job until I switch into Meganium. That Acid Spray is going to hurt, and in comes Gloom. Gloom was an interesting opponent. I had not faced many at all in practice. And I know Earthquake was the better move, but I wanted to draw the shield. I try to get to a second Earthquake, but it just doesn't happen for us. I know he's got charge energy, so I bring in Mantine as a sacrifice to absorb that Sludge Bomb, and out comes Ninetales. So we're in pretty bad shape here. We're facing a Gloom and a Quagsire, one shield. I have to burn it here on the Gloom, but I'm farming up all this energy. At this point, when Quagsire comes out, it looks like it's done, but the Solar Beam for the win. Just taking a quick look at Ninetales, that Solar Beam just wrecks the water types across the board in Rainbow Cup. Lantern, Quagsire, and Mantine are all in danger when that Solar Beam is around. Going into round 4, this is our championship round. Now for our championship round of the Rainbow Cup, we're facing off against one of the Titans of Tampa, Big Jake. Jake is going to bring a very meta team, but he brings Magneton as well. Anytime you see a Magneton in PvP, I think it's just safe to assume you're going to get Thundershock, Discharge, and Magnet Bomb to boot. So I'm definitely concerned about that. Going into my team comp, I decided to go Quagsire, Meganium, and Mantine. I was actually so nervous during our matches that I only recorded the championship round. We won one game each, and then it all came down to this. This is our championship round. And here we go. I open Meganium, he opens Mantine. We've talked about this matchup a lot during this Rainbow Cup video. We're going to have to try to get to those Frenzy Plants, but we also need to watch out for Mantine's charge attacks. We land our first Frenzy Plant, and he comes with a recharge attack of his own, which is Aerial Ace. I'm going to defend that, and a few Vine Whips later, I'm able to get to another Frenzy Plant. He decides to shield the Frenzy Plant. He comes with another charge attack. Meganium's done a great job. I'm going to let it fall here. I'm not really sure which to go in with, so I decide to go in with Quagsire. Those Mud Shots aren't going to do any damage, so I get to the Stone Edge. At this point, I wasn't sure if I had made a mistake. He decides to shield. I'm not going to shield Quagsire because Aerial Ace or Ice Beam, either way, we will be okay. He decides for a fast switch. I think this is Jake's critical mistake. He switch locks himself into Venusaur, and I'm able to bring out Mantine. I shield that Frenzy Plant and we overcharge. I'm trying to count those Vine Whips there to make sure we maximize our energy gains. We get in within KO range and we take him down with an Aerial Ace. Out comes Charizard. I fire off an Ice Beam. He is out of shields. Charizard returns the favor with the Blast Burn. We barely survive and we're not able to get to another move. Quagsire comes in and shines with a Stone Edge to take down Charizard. Out comes Mantine. It has a lot of energy. We're going to fire off these Mud Shots and we get to another Stone Edge and we win the match. Such amazing games against Jake. It was an amazing time at the tournament. Played some really, really talented players, and I'm so happy it came out and it turned out the way it did. Had a few lucky breaks, and yeah, things just really turned out for me that day. This was my first tournament to win outright. I did pretty well in Kingdom Cup, but it was a tie win, and then I haven't really came close to the success that I had before. So this was just a lot of fun. As you can see there, Speediest Chief 2 won the Rainbow Cup, and I got a shiny new Challenger badge. Guys, as a final note, I just want to make a quick PSA about PvP. So, as you can tell, I got really fired up in that last clip. Just watching the replay footage really took me back to the moment that I won that match, and it was just so much fun. PvP has made Pokemon Go so fun for me. I play all the time. And I remember when rating came out and everyone was so excited to go out and take on the Mewtwo's and take on the legendary birds and how fun all of that was. And for me, PvP just brings a whole new level of excitement to the game. So if you're curious about PvP and if you'd like to come out and play, definitely check the links down below. You can join our Discord server and figure out when we're having all of our player versus player tournaments and meetups and practice sessions, and you can meet some really good people to play against as well. My whole goal with these videos is to help build a player versus player community because I just really enjoy the game and I think it's that much fun, and I want other people to enjoy it with me. If you have any kind of comments, tips, or suggestions on how best to do that, just leave them in the comment section below. I would be delighted to read them. And thank you so much for watching. This was a lot of fun. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time.